Obviously going to make a lot of money for some people, but what about its environmental effects? The proposed 10 gigawatt data center will match the energy footprint of an atomic bomb every 52 minutes. That's a huge amount of heat.
So now I want to talk about the data centers.
Yeah.
So you've been making some posts about the data center. Let me play your video.
Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. I live in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and this story is big news around here. Wyoming County approves construction of what could become the largest data center in the United States. Project Jade could eventually use the same amount of electricity as produced by 10 nuclear power plants. Cheyenne to host massive AI data center using more electricity than all Wyoming homes combined. An enormous data center in Wyoming will consume 5 times more power than the state's people. The owner remains a mystery. This project is obviously going to make a lot of money for some people, but what about its environmental effects? The proposed 10 gigawatt data center will match the energy footprint of an atomic bomb every 52 minutes. That's a huge amount of heat. We should ask the question, how do they intend to dissipate that heat without causing major environmental problems? Let's take a look at other industries which generate a lot of heat, like steel mills. Steel mills are typically placed near large bodies of water, like this one at Gary, Indiana. It is located right on the edge of Lake Michigan. The heat generated at the steel mill is carried away by the water. This keeps the air temperatures in the region from rising significantly. This photo shows another energy-intensive industry. It's the Rawhide coal-fired power plant located just south of the border from Wyoming in Colorado. I took this photo during the record cold of Valentine's Day 2021, the same day when Texas froze. These solar panels in the foreground were covered with snow and they weren't generating any electricity. Northern Colorado is completely dependent on this coal plant for their power that day. The plant is cooled largely by evaporating water. Water evaporating out of the smokestack directly cools the equipment. And water evaporating off of this lake removes almost all of the remaining heat. Note that the water is evaporating even in very cold air. Water is incredibly efficient at removing heat. The amount of heat which water can hold is more than 3,000 times higher than an equivalent amount of air. The amount of heat which will increase the temperature of water by 2 degrees Celsius would increase an equivalent amount of air by 7,000 degrees. That would raise the temperature of the air to hotter than the temperature on the surface of the sun. The point being that water is very efficient at removing heat, but air certainly is not. The problem we've got here in Cheyenne is that we don't have much water. The western U.S. is experiencing the worst springtime drought on record. Cheyenne gets almost all of its water supply from snowmelt. And as of yesterday, none of the mountain locations which Cheyenne gets its water supply from had any snow. Additionally, we had the warmest start of the year on record, with temperatures nearly 10 degrees above normal. There's very little or no water available to cool this massive new data center being built. This means the data center will have to be cooled by radiating the heat off into the air. But as we've already seen, air is very inefficient at removing heat. So how are they planning on getting rid of this heat equivalent to 1 atomic bomb every 52 minutes? To put this heat flow in perspective, this is equivalent to all of the solar radiation received in Cheyenne during the winter. When the air is still during winter and summer, this is going to have a major effect on the temperatures in the Cheyenne area. The sun only warms the land up for a limited number of hours every day, but the data center never turns off. This graphic generated by Gemini shows what the temperatures on Earth would be if Earth's day length was 72 hours instead of 24. The sun provides a tremendous amount of heat to the Earth, and the only reason we can survive it is because our days don't last very long. If days lasted for 72 hours instead of 24, the middle of the day would be unbearably hot and nights would be unbearably cold. But the data center never turns off, so we never get a break from its heat. There's a similar data center being planned in Utah where they're also having a very bad drought. Scientists are very worried that it could create a massive heat island near the Great Salt Lake. We have the largest weather and climate supercomputing center right here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Before rushing into this project, which could have a very bad effect on our weather, wouldn't it be a good idea to do some modeling and find out exactly what the effects are going to be? They are rushing into these projects without doing a proper environmental assessment. And regardless of the weather effects of the data center, they're having a terribly bad effect on the local community. Huge areas of land are being converted into hideous 4-story apartment complexes which look like prisons. Apparently these are needed to house the construction workers. The outlying areas of Cheyenne are known for their large lots and houses spaced widely apart. And this land is being replaced by high-density and hideously ugly apartments. The social impact of these projects is huge, and all of these people they're bringing in are using more water, which we don't have. 250 years ago, the United States was founded on the principle of consent of the governed. But we were never given a vote on this. Tucker Carlson
What we do know from existing hyperscale data centers that have already been built is that we're looking at anywhere between 300,000 to like up to 2.7 million. I've heard even 5 million gallons per year of water that's being used, right? So the noise alone from a hyperscale data center is around 97 decibels. You're looking at hearing loss for long-term exposure to the sound that's coming from them. Also, a recent study came out and said that hyperscale data centers can increase the heat and create heat islands up to 16 degrees on the land around them. So if you think about the impacts on ecosystems and the temperature increase of the water that's going to happen, we're looking at ecological collapse around these hyperscale data centers in our communities. And then that's not to mention the rare cancers that have been tied to hyperscale data centers, the respiratory issues that come from breathing in all the toxins that they emit as well. And then the electricity itself, they need massive amounts of electricity to be powered. And what we're seeing is that they're putting a massive strain on the grid, rolling power outages that are going to be coming. Also, the threat of fires. When you don't have up to code electricity in your home, you're looking at the risk of fires if you're going to flood that much electricity into the grid. We've already been seeing increases almost double in our electricity bills here in Montana. And so we're already feeling the impacts of the electricity and the costs. You're also looking at the jobs. So they come with promises about jobs and economic development, which in the construction phase, yes, there may be up to 1,500 jobs that are available. Oftentimes, those jobs will not go to local community members. They will go to construction companies who already specialize in building hyperscale data centers. And then once construction phase is over, which can last up to 2 years, those jobs drop all the way down. We know that for sure in Rapid City, South Dakota, they've made that public where they go from 1,500 to 3 full-time jobs. And so they actually are not following through on any of the promises that they're making to our communities.
Major concerns tonight in Boomtown about what is in the water that's coming out of data centers. There's a proposed permit from the Ohio EPA that would allow data centers to get rid of wastewater into lakes and streams.
There were at least
data centers. There's a proposed permit from the Ohio EPA that would allow data centers to get rid of wastewater into lakes and streams.
There were at least 120 data centers just in the Columbus area shown on this map here behind us. 10 TV's Kevin Landers joins us live tonight near the Scioto River. Kevin, what are environmentalists telling you?
Well, environmental groups say they're very worried that if these permits get approved, the quality of water in Ohio will suffer.
On average, a single data center uses 500 million gallons of water a day for cooling, according to industry reports. Some of that wastewater could be discharged into Ohio's lakes and streams under A permitting process under review by the Ohio EPA. Environmental groups have concerns about the impact to water quality in rural communities.
It's like a small city, the discharge that will come out of these. And that will, if they don't have a sewage treatment plant, that will go into the streams or the river or another body of water.
Under the Ohio EPA's proposal, data centers that qualify for the water discharge would get a 5-year permit to release water used to cool down tech components. In a statement to 10 TV, the Ohio EPA said, quote, Ohio EPA does not allow discharges that harm aquatic life, recreation, or human health. Every permit includes strict limits and monitoring requirements to ensure water quality standards are met at the state and federal levels.
Elon Musk, we do not want here in Memphis. This is a public hearing for the air permit being considered for the XAI facility.
This is
Elon Musk, we do not want here in Memphis. This is a public hearing for the air permit being considered for the XAI facility.
See, I got asked. My mama got asked. My grandma is at home. 7 years old, got asthma, and she never had it before. I can't breathe at home. It smells like gas outside.
We've shown up here today because we're tired of going in and out of hospitals, going in and out of funeral homes. We've been paying taxes and we've been dying, and what we're saying is that stops now.
I'm going to invite a representative up from the applicant XAI, Mr. Brent Mayo, to come up and have a few words with the community.
Hello, everyone. XAI is committed to meeting the highest standard for emissions. XAI is going above and beyond the required emission control required